Boom. Start your day with the Photoshop Creative Challenge, hosted by Jesus Ramirez every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Tune in and challenge yourself with a new prompt each day. Do you want to learn more about Adobe Express? Please check out the replays on our Adobe Express channel with Caliente and learn how to design simple overlays for your Twitch channel. Hello, I am DTM, aka Delta Tango Mike, and today we have the amazingly talented Stephanie DeAngelis, an illustrator and designer from LA, California, my hometown also, showing us how to take your artwork and add it to your products. Welcome, Stephanie. Tell us what you're going to show us today.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the stream. My name is Stephanie DeAngelis. I'm an illustrator and designer based in Los Angeles. I have been working as a freelance illustrator for the past few years, and most of my work is editorial. I'll show you a little bit on the screen now with my website. I mostly work in editorial illustrations, occasionally dabbling in animation. A lot of my work is really figure-driven, but also very much so inspired by nature. I always am outside, and so I like to use like natural forms, what I see to kind of influence the shapes and the movement I bring into my work. Definitely very inspired by movement, very much so inspired, by natural forms. So you can see here on my Instagram a little bit. Recently, I've been dabbling more in animation, especially in Fresco, which has been really fun. We can go over to my Behance.
It's awesome looking. I love everything. I'm a character artist myself, so I appreciate cool character art and artists out there doing it for real.
Yes. So a lot of inspired by big shapes. I have a garden, which is really fun. So I'm often out there and just like, it really feels nice just to like be amongst nature and kind of observe all that. So I guess that's a good way to like segue into the project today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And before you jump in, big ups to everybody already joining us on Behance. We got a ton of folks in the chat. And thank you, Wade, for sharing Stephanie's links. Go ahead and click through the link so you can get a firsthand into Stephanie's portfolio and follow her work. Go for it, Stephanie.
Awesome. Yeah. So today what I wanted to work on, so I thought about, as being a freelance illustrator, as I'm sure you can attest to this too, is how do you kind of bounce into the product world? Like, how do you want your work to show up on different items? So, obviously there's digital spaces, there's physical spaces, and I do sell a lot of prints, but in the past couple of years, I've been really trying to think of like more sustainable options or more eco-friendly, earth-friendly functional items. That's why I was inspired to create a shopping tote design here today. So it's like one of those tote bags that folds up into a little square that you can take with you to the grocery store, for example, to the park or where else. So that's what we're going to be working on today.
Very cool. We got tons of those. My wife is addicted. Every store we go to, if they have those near the cashier area when you're checking out, she is going to buy one. So I like those. Those are cool.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I have so many too, but it's always good to find one in your pocket or like in your car somewhere. Awesome. So I guess we could jump right into it. So what I did so far in Fresco was I did a quick comp of the bag tote or the tote layout. I used the grid tool over here to help me draw it out. And it's obviously not to spec right now, but in the process, I usually I don't like work spec forward or like worrying about like the template or the layout so much in this case, because throughout the process, especially working in Fresco, where I'll start off in like kind of more at the sketch phase and eventually move into like vector. Ultimately, you'll be able to scale that up. So once I have a final template or once I have a final design, I can really work around the template, but here it's a little more rough. So I sketched that out first. And then I started to think about a few rough ideas. So what I'm going to do is just hide that for now. And so I see on my Instagram, there's like a lot of trees and like people and things like that. So what I was thinking of doing was 2 possible ideas that I had. And then I think maybe we could vote on it later, once they're a little more baked out. But yeah, so I had a couple of rough ideas. The first one I was going to start refining down, and the other we're going to start. So quite rough first sketch, but as I think most people know, the early stages are usually rough, that I had flattened down. And so I'm going to go in here and just bring down the opacity. Yeah, and then we'll start building on these. Can I jump into this area first? So yeah, I really like, I mean, when you live in LA, it's kind of interesting how you see like the built up world and the natural world interacting. So I'm really inspired by kind of vignettes of different corners in my neighborhood, or just different things I see throughout, usually when I'm walking my dog.
So that's super cool. We do have a couple questions in the chat that I'm going to go ahead and jump in with. You did show us the template for the bag. How did you choose the right size of bag, or did you find a printer and you are using their template to create your bag?
Yeah. So I found a vendor online who allows kind of like print on demand artists. That allows print on demand artist options. It's a UK based retailer called Contrado, I believe. And they sell artist goods that artists kind of directly upload and can put on their products, very similar to like a Society 6 type vibe. And I noticed they had the options for that bag. So yeah, the specs are based off of that. I didn't completely make that one up. But great question.
Yes. And so did you choose them because of their pricing? Is there something that stood out? I know you mentioned sustainable.
Yeah, so according to the retailer, it's made from recycled nylon fabric, which is great. It's another feature that I like is print on demand. So it's not like they're going to print a million of them and just have them sitting there in a warehouse or anything like that. It's kind of print as needed, which I think is a really cool feature, just in general for products, if you're creative, so that you don't have to worry about the upfront cost. And also upfront merchandise or having stuff like in stock, which I think is a really great, option to like reduce ultimately stuff that's made in waste, but also, allow it to be more made intentionally, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yeah. That's another thing. Just the business of art. That's part of the business of art, is considering what are you gonna do with inventory when it doesn't sell. We always think that, go ahead and draw this, people will buy it. Go ahead and make t-shirts, you'll sell a ton of t-shirts. But that upfront cost and those upfront printing there is some, you have to store them somewhere while you're selling them, whether they sell later or not, they have to sit somewhere. And so that's part of the cost also that you have to consider.
Absolutely. Also, another thing that's really important that I think I learned quickly when creating products was shipping and having all of the things that you need for that, and having space for that, and having time. Yes, lots of like a lot of inventory management on the side of the artist. So yeah, anytime I can find an opportunity to streamline that whole process, I usually try to take advantage of it.
Yes, it's the key is to work smarter, not harder, and focus on the things that you like. Because I don't want to be in the business of selling individual merchandise, little by little. I'm in the business of drawing. Let me draw. Somebody else solve these other problems. Let me do the part that I enjoy. That's drawing.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally am on board with that as well.
So this is cool. It looks like a house or a garage, and there's the fence. We got a tree, and you started with showing us all these different ideas. Do you just throw all the ideas on the iPad and then start drawing them to see which one stands out because you like them all, or eventually you're going to choose one and just work on one?
Yeah, I normally do like I come up with a bunch of ideas in my sketchbook usually, or at least think in my sketchbook of a bunch of rough ideas and then start bringing them forward. This idea I was kind of working on over the weekend, just like really quick little rough ideas. I was thinking kind of like what would be an interesting surface pattern that might be a little more unique, maybe smaller vignettes of scenes that are a pattern across. And then I had a second idea that I'll explore and you all can watch, where I was thinking, especially, I'm going to go back to the tote, turning that on, trying to kind of see in there how that might look. So that's what I was thinking, is like maybe it can be a repeat pattern.
That's a good idea. So then, you know, those moments when you're staring off into space, you can stare off into the bag and just imagine those different environments, different locations, and see things that you wouldn't normally come across if it was just one design on the bag. So I like that idea. I also like the idea of doing all those drawings and then still making another bag that's just that one design per bag.
Yeah.
For real. Do you take your inspiration from LA, the neighborhood, the city, or do you travel much and find cool scenes to illustrate?
Well, I'm from LA, so I definitely am inspired a lot by the city as a whole, the different parts. I think it's definitely been my first inspiration. I love how like the original homes in LA have the stucco walls that are like more tan and like peach and pink. And I feel like that was my first bit of inspiration when I really started drawing more. It was the color that I'd see in LA. So yeah, but also I'm pretty much, I try to travel when I can. And I feel like that is obviously like the biggest source of inspiration, is going someplace new, like meeting new people, seeing new things, just kind of understanding like a different way of life. I think that's really awesome. And yeah, I definitely get inspiration from both.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm gonna collapse these two into that
cool
idea.
I'll be quiet, let you focus.
Oh no, it's okay.
No, this is cool. Very interested in your artwork and your style. Really like your style, and just looking at that first picture, you know, growing up in LA, lots of alleys, and so you see like that reminds me of just a alley shot where you can see the fence, and behind the fence is the garage, got the tree. You can't get away from those power lines. They're everywhere. And so yeah, that's what gives me that, reminds me of that. And so that's why I was asking those questions. Yeah, the environment wherever you are is always going to be an important part of your work.
Yeah, totally.
If you're just joining us now, illustrator and designer Stephanie DeAngelis is showing us how to take your artwork and add it to products. She draws different images that will be turned into patterns for a parachute tote bag. I guess they call it parachute tote bags because of the way they look. Do not try this at home.
Yeah, I think it's called a parachute tote bag because it folds out into a larger thing. I guess it kind of looks like a parachute. Yeah, I discovered like the proper name for it recently.
Very cool. And it's a little lake in the park. This reminds me of I'm from East LA, and there's a park on 4th Street, and it's big lake right next to the freeway, so you can hear all the cars driving by. But it's very hilly park. And as you come down the hill, you can see the lake. It's very nice.
What's the name of the park?
I had to think about it for a second. I want to say it's just 4th Street Park, but I'm not sure. I have to look it up. I live in Atlanta now, so I've been out here
nice.
for 30 years and visit LA as much as I can. I haven't gone back in a couple years, but yeah, it's I love driving down my old neighborhood just to remember and see things how they change and how some things stay the same.
Yeah, totally.
And when you get a chance, let's see, Stephanie, move your mouse
Oh, my
off the
apologies.
screen. There you go. Cool. Look at that. Did you practice a long time your line work to get smooth like this? Because this is very clean.
Yeah. Yes, so when I first started illustrating, I was like old school pen and paper or pencil and paper. So I think I started learning digital illustration in maybe like 2015-ish. And I just remember like the disconnect between like, back then when I was learning digital illustration, it was like mostly on like the Wacom tablet or Wacom tablet. I never know how to pronounce that. And it was so hard to have like a clean line. And I think I was very caught up in the whole idea of it being a digital medium. But now I think through practice, daily practice, and just like feeling more confident in my line strokes, as well as, you know, obviously there's a lot of really great features in Fresco that help kind of develop a cleaner line. But yeah, lots of practice, and it took a while for sure.
Yes. Wade says Wacom.
Wacom. Okay, thank you.
Wacom. I don't know. I've never heard of anybody official say the official pronunciation. So I've heard it all kinds of different versions of it.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Bruce Gonzalez, you're funny. He says Wade.com. For Wade a Cuff. Thank you, everybody who's joining us in the chat. Enlightened Swami, Bruce. Who else we got here? Misty, what's up? Misty in the house. Oliver, appreciate y'all. Let us know where y'all watching from. And let us know if you visited the links that Wade has already shared to Stephanie's Instagram. Go ahead, check it out and follow. But yes, I remember jumping into digital, and I had that flat little metal tablet where you draw with your hand on the table and you're looking up at the screen. And it was just very unfamiliar, very strange. And it took a long time to get past that disconnect where it's just drawing. You have to get your brain to believe that it's just drawing, whether it's just a different medium, but it's still drawing. But you're so stuck in that this is like such a different medium. There has to be a different feeling out of it. And the reality is just practice, and you'll get there.
Yeah, totally. That practice is absolutely, like, every time I feel stumped with something, or I don't feel like I understand where I'm going, or maybe a little lost in the medium, I just kind of come back to a practice. And just daily, even if you can do it just for like 20 to 30 minutes daily, it pays off in the long run.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just put in the time, even if it comes out not right, it may not be what you expected, it might not be what you wanted, it's still that practice that's going to get you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got some legs. Tell us about, where does your inspiration for the characters come from? Because they have very stylized shapes.
Yeah. So I'm definitely influenced a lot by movement. I love watching, well, I'm not a big sports person, but the art of sports in general, like, I feel like it's kind of weird to say, but like, you kind of watch athletes between shots, the way they move, and it's very fluid, or dancers, or anyone in flux, really. So I used to be very intimidated drawing humans, for one, because like that, humans and hands are always like, oh, it's so hard to draw. And I was very intimidated by that at first. And so I tried to figure out a way in that would make me feel a little more confident when it came to drawing people. And that was like not really worrying so much about proportion. I know that sounds counter, and I definitely took like figure drawing classes in the past, but I started to look at human figures kind of like from a different proportion, or just like with allowing myself to distort the proportions a little bit to seem a little more stylized and exaggerated.
Is this one of those times when you as an artist who's developing their skill and their style, you keep hearing that you have to follow the rules, but then when you master the rules, you can break the rules, because now your art will still follow the rules, but in your kind of way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we always hear about proportion, and it's true, but after a while, you can still imagine proportion in a stylized way, and even though it looks out of proportion, it still kind of fits. So the way the cup says rules, you guys have rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. And it sounds like you have a keyboard. Are you undoing with the help of a keyboard?
What was that?
Do you have a keyboard that you're undoing with?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's cool. I thought I heard a keyboard. I guess it's the iPad and the pencil when you tap on stuff. It's cool. I just want to learn your secrets. That's why I'm here. Wade said Wacom is pronounced Wacom and is from the Japanese symbol for harmony and the first syllable of computer. Oh, so harmony computer. Oh, Wacom. Very cool. Appreciate that. Wade? This is very cool. And I think it wasn't a lake what you were drawing. You didn't correct me, and I'm cool with that. It looked like it was a shadow.
Yeah. So it could be a lake. It's still kind of evolving, but I also I'm really inspired by shadows too. Like I love how light and form interact. And I think that's really exciting. I think in the past couple of years, I've spent a lot of time in parks, hanging out with friends, which I definitely think that this direction is somewhat inspired by, especially since it's been so hot lately, trying to catch the shade underneath a tree.
So Wade is asking a question, and before we get to the question, Enlightens Swami says, please reveal every secret.
All right, this is your opportunity to ask.
That's right. Ask the questions in the chat, and I will ask Stephanie. She will definitely share the secrets of illustration. All right, let's see. So Wade is asking, do you have any smoothing turned on? Which brings us into your tool. Tell us about it.
So currently my smoothing's turned on to 1. I guess I can get into like the brushes I use a little bit for this one. So in the pixel brush option, I love the Kyle brushes, been using those for a while. Love that I can work easily between Fresco and Photoshop. And so I really like the tech pins for me personally. I use that both in like sketch and final work sometimes, depending on where the item, where the item lives and like the style I'm going into. I feel like I've really been into the tech pin because it has has a lot of texture to it, feels heavier. I guess that's a good way to say, but it still retains a pencil quality. And my smoothing's currently on 1, but I usually have it, I mean, depending on the brush, between 1 and 20. I think I'm going to turn it up a little bit actually for right now. See how that feels. Yeah.
Very nice. That's right. Erin is asking what brushes do you use, and take a look at the screen right now. Take a look. You just missed it a second ago, but there it is. Those are the favorite brushes.
Yeah. So these are, I tried to play with new brushes before every project just to see, but I feel like I always kind of revert back to the same ones, which are typically these 4. But I've tweaked the settings a little bit. They definitely know on Photoshop I've played around with the settings a lot. Typically have, again, depending on the brush, a lot of smoothing. I usually bring the spacing down too.
Yes, play with your brush settings, y'all, because we can just use the brushes as they come. And of course, Kyle T. Webster's an amazing, talented designer, been creating brushes for us for a long time. But there could always be a tweak or two that will make that brush yours, that will make your artwork that much different. And actually, like you mentioned a second ago, Stephanie, is that depends on the type of character, the setting, the mood that you want your artwork to have. A couple of tweaks here and there will make that art style fit the mood perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are so many awesome adjustments and tools and features within it. And I think, when you have downtime, or maybe if you're not like particularly feeling inspired, even just like playing through, even just playing with those features that are in Fresco or Photoshop or Illustrator. I mean, again, it can just be for fun, just like play for yourself. But I feel like sometimes if you're stuck, finding new features, finding maybe a new way to colorize things and so on and so forth, can be really helpful. And then you just know another option available to you too.
Right. Explore your creativity.
Yes.
Nice. And Stephanie's a pretty fast drawer. She's moving right through.
Yeah. I did have the sketch underneath, so I think that helped. I'm gonna move into this.
How much time do you spend just thinking of the artwork you're going to create, the inspiration, the sketching, and trying to find the right angle, the right drawing?
I think it really depends on the project. Sometimes, it's like, how much time do you spend on it? It's such a great question. And I think it really depends on the project, but I'm like often in my head thinking through ideas. And I feel like I always carry a sketchbook, and I try to jot down the ideas I have, even if they might not be for a specific thing. When I think of them, to maybe like go back, I feel like sometimes I don't know about anyone else, but I often feel like my best ideas are usually when I'm not working on a project, or I'm not doing anything particular, which I'm like, oh, thanks, brain. But it depends. It depends on the project. It depends on the timeline. If it's a personal piece, then it could take a really long time. I feel like I put a lot of pressure on personal work, or rather, pressure is not the right word, but I spend a lot of time on personal work, trying to think through different angles, really like giving myself. But a quick idea is like not that long, maybe a couple hours.
I think it's important to note that you mentioned that you have a little sketchbook to jot down ideas and sketch out ideas as they come, because it's sometimes when you have a project coming up, it is that period of days before you actually sit down to work on the project when you may get a flash of ideas, and you're not sitting in front of the project ready to work. So you have to write down those notes. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know. I feel like sometimes I'll be like driving and I'll see something that's really cool. And I'm like, oh gosh, I just have this great idea. And I know that by the time I get home, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah.
Or, it's always like it's just like a random thing you might walk by that you think is really cool. I mean, I take a ton of photos on my phone of kind of, I mean, seemingly random stuff, but it's usually like colors or maybe a cool shadow that's casting on something. And try to like, if I have time throughout the week, I sometimes just try to like jot down ideas or refine them out a little bit.
Yes, that's right. Just jot it down and refine later.
Yeah.
Oliver says, I always get ideas in the shower. I need a waterproof notepad or something.
You know what? Same.
That's right. I get ideas driving. It's when I'm focused on just the traffic that you kind of blank out your mind, and then inspiration just hits you. It just hits you.
Yeah. Or you have like good music playing.
That's true. That's right. Yes. Becca says, my notes are too vague. And later on, I have no idea what I meant. Oh, write down words. You need to write down some words, not just a sketch, or maybe a sketch with the words. If you have a couple minutes to just scribble. Wade says, I'm the worst with that. So many ideas I've lost, maybe for the best though. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be a creative person who's constantly finding inspiration in things and finish a project, a personal project, a passion project, because as you're working on something, you may come up with another idea and you want to switch off to the next idea and the next one. Bruce is asking, I don't want you to reveal any sneaks, Stephanie, but will you be making anything animate?
Right now or in the future?
Probably during the next 2 days, today and tomorrow.
No, nothing animated this time, but maybe in the future.
There you go. Make sure you follow Stephanie. She has a Behance, and the link is in the description of the video. Go check it out. And check out the character art. It's very stylized, and I do get that sense of movement and dynamic. Even if it's a flat 2D illustration, you get a sense that it's a moving character. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. So now I have a couple ideas down for this one that I definitely want to be a little more pattern focused for the tote design. So the thought was that I would have little vignettes of the trees, of the person walking their dog, of the friends hanging out. So I'm going to layer those down. I think I might add maybe two or three other little clusters, and then start to kind of lay them out and see how that is. And now at this phase, it's very rough still. Because this is more of just like a refined, if you saw my layer underneath, it's relatively a rough, quick idea, but it was, one of those ideas I have on the fly where I was like, oh, let me just jot this down and obviously can refine it later. So that's where I'm at with that. And then once I have this in a good spot, and I configure it a little bit to fit actually, I'm going to group these together really quick so I can easily toggle between. But yeah, so once I have that more refined, I'm gonna quickly lay it out in this template. Then I'm gonna work on the other idea, which I think will be more of a full scene on the bag. And another thing, going back to like, oh, why did I choose this particular vendor too? I think another really great option for artists to consider when they are starting to put their products on things is like the printing type. Is it screen printed? Is it direct to garment? Is it digital? So with those considerations, I like that it was a digital print, which means you can typically use way more colors without it costing more. It usually retains a lot of things like texture and stuff like that. So yeah.
Nice. And do you send out for samples to see what it's like in real life in your hands?
Yeah, I did. So hopefully that comes in soon.
Okay. Very cool. Bruce says, really enjoying the person walking the dog. Yes, it feels very relaxing, everyday type of thing.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Yes. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
I think I like to bring a sense of calm into my work. I mean, obviously, if the subject matter is not like that, then not. But I really like to try to capture just, I guess, more mundane, just calm moments and really celebrating that. Because, like life isn't always, huge, exciting things. It's kind of a lot of smaller, simple moments in between that I think are really beautiful if you look at them from a more creative lens. So a lot of my work, I try to like capture a sense of calm, sense of peace. So I appreciate that.
Very cool. Not all the characters we create are superheroes off the
exactly.
universe, right?
I love that.
Yes. You gotta take the time to enjoy our environment, enjoy our day, enjoy the time in the sun and the shade. I like that. Very cool.
Even when it's really hot out.
Yes, and it gets hot. Oh my gosh, it's been hot. In Atlanta recently, it's been a lot of rain. So the heat and then humidity and then calm weather is it's been a nice little mix.
Nice.
Welcome, Mona says, glad I hopped in from the Discord post. Yes, we have a Discord and I shared it in the Discord. I want people to come and hang out with us on Behance and Adobe Live. For those of you who are watching on YouTube or Behance, please remember to subscribe and like the video. Leave a comment, question, or suggestion so that we know you are there. Adobe Live replays are available when you're offline, and we have replays on both YouTube and Behance. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on creativity or creative goodness. Word. Do you see yourself in some of these scenes that you're creating, or do you imagine a particular character in a character's life?
Yeah, I think a lot of times my characters are, it would be weird to say that they weren't inspired me by like myself, I guess, in some way, but I try to make them a little vague in the sense that it could be anyone. But even in the sense of like pose references, sometimes I will take like photos of myself and distort them in Photoshop to like get an interesting proportion, and then go from there. But yeah, they're in ways I feel like it's a way of journaling, or my friends, or that cool person who had like a cool outfit on that you saw the other day when you were out getting coffee. Kind of like I learned about this phrase the other day on TikTok called Humancore, which is like, it was like these really beautiful shots of people just, existing in a space or walking in the park on a beautiful summer day. So yeah, kind of inspired by people around me, I guess a little bit of myself.
Nice. I've had projects where I asked my nieces and nephew to pose for me. So
nice. And do they do it willingly?
They'll I don't know if they're willingly if they're willingly, they smile and they do what I ask. I'm pretty sure they get tired. Like, here goes Dan asking for photos again. But yeah, it's I think it's and when I draw and I use their poses, I'm not necessarily drawing them. I'm more interested in the pose and the look and angle. But at the end of the day, when I'm drawing a character, I still imagine, who is this character? Where do they live? What are they doing? What kind of life they have? Yeah. And this one's awesome. They're just chilling, hanging out by the window.
Yeah, just like a quick get a little quick face in there. Again, still quite rough phase, but just to get to build the idea. I'm going to add those together, maybe shrink it a little.
You say it's rough, but I think that's it. That's done. That's my drawing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, recently I've been trying to do a lot more line work. So like making that decision where line work is done versus like, can you refine it more? Do you want to add more? Has been like a really interesting challenge. And really just kind of fun to work in a new medium.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can go from here to more detail to cartoony, comic, very illustrative, textures. Is I have trouble refraining, and I look at other artists' work, like your work has this wide layers of color and space, and I look at art like that, and I think, okay, my next drawing is gonna be like that. I'm gonna try that style, and then somewhere in that drawing, I lose myself, and next thing you know, I've added a ton of extra things that I was not going to do.
Yeah, I get that. I can definitely relate.
Yeah, and it's real easy to lose oneself in your drawing. So go with the flow.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Right. I think I'm going to maybe add some larger items now, because so I'm kind of looking at how it's balanced and a couple of little smaller clusters, and I want to add maybe some flowers. I'm trying to think of more like a little rock with flower area over here.
Nice. Just sketching and drawing. Illustrator and designer Stephanie DeAngelis is showing us how to take your artwork and add it to products. She's drawing different images that will be turned into patterns for a parachute tote bag. And I keep saying DeAngelis. I don't know if that's correct, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, it's like Los Angeles with a D.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. But thank you for asking.
Got to make sure, you know. Sometimes people don't say nothing. Like, I don't care how you pronounce my name. I'm cool with it. And but there are people who are very exact. Like they'll correct you. And if you don't hear them correcting you, you're not kind of sure. Like, I guess
yeah, totally.
Okay.
It's always worth asking, you know, and then you know. And so thanks. Yeah, it's a good reminder. All right. I think now, since I have a couple different scenes, what I want to do with these are, for one, group it all together. And now I'm going to toggle on the tote, and I'm going to shrink this down just to start to see how it might look on it. It's obviously going to be a pattern, and I'm not really worried at this phase, like creating a really perfect repeat pattern, because what I hope to do is when we start to add color is that I will build the colored version of these little vignettes with the vector brushes, which is really odd. Like one of my favorite features by far. I mean, I have a lot of favorite features in Fresco, but I love the fact that you can easily toggle between pixel and vector. So if you're working on a project that is print, you know, you can kind of work in the whole file like there, which is really cool.
Yes, I love Fresco. I've been using Fresco since the very beginning, and it's an evolution. That app has gone through an evolution, starting with Adobe Ideas, Adobe Line, and then Adobe Draw, and Adobe Sketch. Adobe Sketch. So it's really awesome to have an app that includes all these different types of mediums all in one app. Plus, of course, I don't use the light brushes because I've never been that kind of artist. I painted before, but I do acrylics when I paint because that's easy for me, or that's how I learn anyways. But watercolors and oils are awesome. So that's another option right there in Adobe Fresco. I really enjoy drawing.
Yeah, I've really wanted to play with the live brushes too. I used to paint a lot when I was like younger, and I still do sometimes when I have projects that are that come up that are like painting projects or
Mhm.
opportunities. But yeah, the live brushes seem really cool, and I've seen a lot of really awesome work in the with using that.
Oh yeah, but vectors are my super favorite because just like what you're working on now, when it's time to print it, today we're talking about the parachute tote bag, but you can take this artwork and use it for all kinds of merchandise. I even worked on a mural design.
Nice.
Yes, thank you. It was a mural design that I started in Fresco. Then I exported the vector brushes into Illustrator and I laid out the full mural in Adobe Illustrator. And it's 36 feet wide or long, 36 feet
Wow.
long, yes, and 8 feet tall. And so when you walk up to the murals, it was printed on vinyl. When you walk up to the mural, you can see it's clean and sharp, and you can only get that with vector.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Where's the mural?
Here in Atlanta, it's an area called Beltline. It's a walking, bike riding path that goes around the city in the Midtown area, and so I know a curator who put together a long list of artists who all worked on different murals. Some of them use spray paint, some of them used paint brushes, and me, I was like, nah, I'm gonna print mine on acrylic on vinyl, so I get to draw it on the iPad with Fresco and Illustrator, and boom, print a large version of it.
I love that. That's
Hmm.
definitely like an example of really using the tools to your advantage.
That's right. That is right. That's why they are there. Use them.
Cool. So kind of like this, definitely not final, but it's kind of like the first idea, kind of mocked up in the tote. Obviously, this will be like full color, but just to kind of get a sense of the layout, I think I will probably scoot things around. But I think just to get a general idea, I'm into this. I'm going to oops, add another layer here. Definitely see some holes in here that could use something. So I'll come back to that later, I think.
So you did a lot of masking so that you did not have to erase or delete the part of the drawing you don't want. That way you can turn it on if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. So usually what I'll do is I'll just like, I have my live sketches in this group over here where I'll come back and move things around if I want. But for this phase, I feel like, I'm going to be moving things around a lot. So I will duplicate the group and just flatten it down and scoot things around, mask it so it fits in the shape. There's
Mhm.
obviously, you could make a layer mask and clip it into there, but I kind of like this idea. Um, yeah, so I'm going to enter this. Alrighty.
Big ups to Jack for joining us on Behance. What's up? What's up? Thank you for stopping by. I want to remind folks that they can click through the Fresco logo here on Behance and download Fresco right here from Adobe and try it out. Get in touch with your canvas, check out the brushes, and follow along the amazing work of Stephanie.
All right. So I think now that I have the first idea kind of, well, actually, I'm going to go back on this layer. So I merged all the mask layers down, and I'm actually going to turn this on, duplicate this one more time, flatten it,
Mhm.
flatten this down, and clip this whole item out. Not that I kind of like it, but actually I'm going to scoot this around a little bit to find a better orientation.
And by duplicating and then flattening those two layers, you just made the line work darker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some things got squished on top of each other, but most likely it's going to be erased. So I think it's okay for right now. Erase that out. Cool. So I'm going to mask this now.
Yeah. I like how you laid out the original scenes and then just duplicated that layer or that group and just spread them around. This is cool. I need to try this. I get intimidated by patterns.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I feel like while I mean, there's definitely more technical ways to go about this, and of course, depending on the program that you're using. But I think, like, yeah, I feel like I share that same. You know, it's easy to get intimidated before going into a new way of working.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just playing around with things is such a good way in. And you can always refine it later.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flatten that mask. Cool. So there's my first idea. This layer is the mask, and this is still my working layer. So if we want to go back and refine these, and I think if I choose this option to go with, what I will do is make this larger, isolate them out, and draw them. Again, because they'll be vectors. So you can move them, make them bigger, squeeze them down, and so forth. Cool. So I think I'm going to start with a rough sketch of a general scene. So I'm going to turn off the tote bag because I kind of know where that is. So the other scene I was thinking of was, if we go down here, it's a little distorted, but I like this. I like this scene. I think this is kind of cool. So maybe I'm going to blow this up a little bit more and focus in on maybe like a couple characters sitting down amongst the kind of like a tree or trees or like park scene. So I'm just going to work on a little rough sketch to start.
So not only do we have a pattern, you're taking one of them out of the pattern and you're going to go further with it.
Yeah. Actually, now that I say that, I'm going to go into this layer actually and pull that out just so I can have the reference.
Those are stacks and stacks of layers.
Stacks and stacks of layers.
Wow.
But I'm a big, I always have tons of layers. I obviously always try to organize my layers as much as possible. It only helps you in the long run. Alrighty, so I'm going to turn down the opacity there just because it's like a reference and I don't really need it. I'm going to lock it. And now, sometimes when I am working on like the rougher phase of sketches, I'll use a thicker brush just to get like the layout of the composition. So like, I guess you'll see as I work into it, but it's a little more loose versus like direct sketch work. And then I'll kind of go in and refine. So definitely want to have some trees up here. Cool. Some trees.
Some happy trees. Those are cool looking trees. They kind of also look like clouds, and that's rain. Jellyfish.
Yeah, I love that. Slightly abstracted.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be a cloud up here that's kind of like a similar form. It's kind of cool. I love to bring like a sun into the composition. So then that way too, you can have like a shadow or a light source, and to add shadows to, maybe it'll just be like hiding up there. Maybe there's like a light horizon line someplace in the background.
Some rolling
and
hills.
Then cool if like those trees kind of came down. There's another tree back there. Yeah, so now, so to further what I mentioned a little bit earlier about like using a thicker brush, I think like sometimes what I like to do, especially if I'm really not sure exactly what the composition I want to look like, I'll use like a chunkier brush so it's more like figurative. It's a little more sketchy in a way. It feels looser, but like obviously, or maybe not obviously, but I can see shapes coming through here, and I'll come back in and refine it. So I think I'm gonna have like a picnic table down here. I think it'd be cool if maybe some of these trees had some shadows in the trunks of the trees. Then maybe we have a rock or some type of bush over here. And then I'm gonna actually bring down the opacity just a little bit, because I'm gonna add another layer on top of where the people will be. So like we can have one character there.
Bruce is funny. He says, could look like muffin top people at this stage.
What was that?
Muffin top people.
That's funny. Cool. So we have a person hanging out there. Maybe they have a dog that can be hanging out over here. Yeah, so really rough. Just getting like the shapes and the shadows. So I'm going to bring the opacity up on that. And I'm going to flatten this down.
So I looked up the park in my neighborhood, the one that has the little lake. It's called Hollenbeck Park.
Nice.
Yes, it is on 4th Street. That whole area is called Boyle Heights.
Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to start refining this section, going back to my tech pen. I think I'm going to bring that up a little bit so that it's a little bit looser of a line. Yeah, perfect.
Nice. And I like the fact that when you draw a line, you can, when you finish at the end of that line, you just hold that line in that spot with the Apple Pencil, and then that line will straighten out. So that's really useful.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite features. And I always use that as much as possible, or a grid, or even the ruler tool is really nice for helping you get a nice clean line.
Do you have you collected different tree styles, and do you know the type of trees that you use, or do you make them up as you go along?
I love trees. I'm such a tree nerd. I have been learning a lot about trees in my neighborhood, but the style is definitely very much inspired by like LA trees. Which unfortunately not a lot of native trees in the city, but where I live, there's a lot of topiary, which is like the art of tree trimming, which is really, really cool. And like once you see it, I feel like you see them all over, and it's like such a classic feature of like LA lawns, or like in different parts of LA, you see these like awesome little sculpted trees. And that actually was like my biggest inspiration was seeing that, or just how trees are kept within different spaces throughout LA. So like I find a lot of times they are trimmed into these like puffier, interesting shapes, and I find that super cool and just fascinating. The art of it, as well as like the maintenance and so forth. But yeah, I follow like different accounts on Instagram that are about trees, which is like really calming. But yeah, there's like so many different cool species and so much like different ways of caring for them. So I like the art of that, and I feel like I've been inspired by that a lot.
Yes. Thank you. Mona says, love trees. I am getting into the art of bonsai.
Oh, very cool. I love that.
Yeah, I imagine like you would do a lot of, it's called research, but it could also just be, you know, something that interests you and you just want to keep finding out more and more about it. And because you want to see how you as an artist would bring that into your artwork. So research, just collecting tree pictures or any kind of reference is always an awesome calming thing.
Books too.
Yeah. Yes. I find myself doing that. I love drawing characters, and so I follow a lot of character artists, and that's it. You want to collect as much references as possible, just so that you can try some of that later in one of your drawings.
Yeah, definitely.
And these have a cool particular look, long, thin, but with that high canopy.
Yeah, so I like this big tall one up in here, and I think I might, now I can see some gaps. I might bring the tree on the right. I might bring something else in that corner, but I'm gonna work through this one over here.
Mona says, I joined a bonsai club, and it's so cool that you choose your trees goal, and man, it takes time. Yes, it takes time.
Yes. I really like plants too, which I feel like that can be assumed from looking at some of my work. But it is a really awesome opportunity to slow down and kind of like be present in your craft. If you look at it as a craft or like an art, which I think definitely can be, especially bonsai.
And Enlightened Swami, great observation. Enlightened Swami says, Stephanie has the flower mouse in her website. I did notice that too.
Thank you. Yes. I recently updated my website, which I think any creative can attest to it being one of the most annoying things to do. And I really wanted to find an opportunity to bring in like fun and playful features. So I really appreciate you calling that out, and hope you like it. And hopefully it's working well for you.
Yes. I visited the website. I was clicking around, looking at the artwork, and I just felt like I couldn't click because the flower, wherever I went, the flower was following us. Oh, that's a cool feature. I like it. It's cool. I really like it.
Nice. Yeah, it's really easy to add little features like that to your site that just like just a fun thing. You know, I want, if someone's, you know, looking at my site, they obviously like my work and stuff, but just something nice to bring a smile to your face. So
they're stepping into your world.
Yes,
that's right.
Definitely that. I love it.
Thank you, Wade, for the links. Go ahead and check out Stephanie's website, Instagram, and Behance to follow this amazing art style.
So I'm adding some lines in where I think I would like add shadow when the color comes. I think I might just add like a quick little rough fill so I can remember, even though I know that those are going to be shadows, but I know ultimately when it's colored in, it's going to be a little bit darker. So I feel like at this phase, it helps kind of understand where the values are going to be. And then I'm going to add this little sun in here.
Yeah, and I like that touch of shadow from one tree top to the other. Like, that's cute. It's like a little, like they touching almost.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it. It adds like a layer of dimension. Yeah, like I think you were talking about texture. Like I always see things that I really like in terms of texture and form, and I'm like, oh, what elements can I add without looking too distant from my work? And so I've really found that like bringing in little moments of thicker shadow gives a good sense of depth and like space without it going too far away from that. Because I feel like my work is relatively flat, although I do bring in some texture, flat in the color sense. Like I use texture sparingly, but I love texture in people's artwork. I think it's so cool, especially when artists can master texture and lighting, which is so awesome.
Yeah. So just those little touches, it just makes it stand out that much more.
Yeah, definitely.
And Enlightened Swami is asking the question, why is that mushroom-like shape of the tree? Is that a particular shape or particular tree?
Yeah, I feel like these are, so I've noticed a lot of the trees, so in the kind of like observing forms of trees, that they are flat along the bottom and then have like a more rounded shape on top. And obviously it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I like the way that looks because it adds just interesting forms between, or I think that they're interesting. So it adds a little bit of just distortion that brings in a little more, I guess, a little more interesting approach. Because there's like a lot of ways to draw trees. And I think earlier when we were talking about like, oh, like how do you develop your characters and stuff like that? It's like the same approach of distorting something can be applied to like anything you start to draw, like dogs or trees or flowers and such. So breaking the rules or just forgoing the rules altogether.
Yep, style it is your drawing, so you can style it however you want.
Totally.
You are the creator. This is your world.
Yeah, exactly. I always like, sometimes when I get stuck or, just not feeling what I'm doing, I'm like, is this me? Like, is this the world I'm creating? Like, what do I want to do with that? And I feel like that's a really good way to like, I mean, if you're really worried about, or if you're interested, rather, not worried, but if you're interested in really refining a style, sometimes I'll like work on something and I'm not really feeling it, and I'll step away and I'll be like, is this me? And I'll come back and I'll like, maybe I'll look at some of my old work and I'm like, how did I approach this in the past, and kind of bring that back in. And then you're like, wow. I mean, with me, I find that it's always like a good exercise to go back and check your work. And like, we always are looking at other references and stuff, which are obviously great. It's always good to have references and be inspired. But I think you can definitely get a lot of inspiration from your own work too, which is a good reminder to anyone out there who might feel stuck. Just go back to some of your old stuff.
Yes. Go back, because you will forget you did that. You will forget that you had a technique that one time, or during a period in when you were drawing a particular set of things, you had a technique, and you forgot all about it. Yeah. Go back and remember and look at it. Yeah, but I feel you on the stylize how you want, and see if this is your world, and step away. Sometimes it's good to step away from the drawing because you need to see it with fresh eyes, and that's real. The fresh eyes thing is real.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, if you're full-time creative too, especially, like doing this for yourself, you can definitely get caught up in just looking at your own stuff a lot. And it's always good to take a break.
Yes, take a break. Wade says, I do that with sketchbooks. I do too. You go back and look at your sketchbooks from the past. That's why sketchbooks are cool, and a place where you just dump your particular projects or drawings or ideas, because years later you look back and like, hey, that was all right.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I feel that.
Very interesting. Rolling hills and trees. I like the idea and composition of how on the top half you got that bubbly style for the treetops, but then on the bottom part, lots of straights. straight lines,
Yeah.
good balance.
Thank you. Yeah. And I don't often work on products, so it's kind of an interesting exercise for me too, to think about how, if you're doing a scene, how it just fills the space. So I'm going to erase out these lines just to see how it would look, because I mean, it would be cropped here. And I think what I'm going to do is minimize that for a second. So interesting. It's coming along. I think I'm liking how it's going so far.
Bruce says very nice, and Latin Swami says that's fantastic. RB joining us. Yeah, let us know, what do you think so far? This looks awesome.
Cool. So I'm gonna I think I have that character down here. Yeah, so I like that style. It's gonna copy those characters.
Oh, so you were drawing the environment for those characters in the picnic.
Yeah, so I'm thinking these people down here will kind of a version of them will be up in here with their little dog and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely am a big fan of recycling ideas. I think that's the best tool, honestly, especially as, you know, sometimes I've had projects in the past that's like, oh, you need to show 15 different thumbnails or 15 different ideas, which is very daunting, but also a very good exercise. But I've always feel bad for the sketches that are left in like a folder on my desktop. And if there's no reason you can't just pull that out of the archive and work on it again, I think, because you already did that mental work with getting it out there. And so finding ways to repurpose can be like a huge tool, especially if you have a crazy deadline or other considerations. Or, you know, I feel like sometimes, while I have a lot of variety in my work, I feel like sometimes there's a lot of overlapping themes and ideas. And so you can kind of bring back something you liked from the past.
Yeah, don't waste it. You want the world to see it. Like, hold on, somebody got to see this. This was awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And recycling is great. You know, because when you first started drawing the trees, I was thinking you just drew like 5 different little ideas, and now here you go with another one. Like, it can get a little bit intimidating to have to come up with another and another and another. But if you pay attention to your work and go back, it's like, okay, I think we can reuse this part, add another element. Next thing you know, it's a brand new picture.
Yeah, totally. Or even like, I think that's a good reminder to like play with the different tools that you have within whatever program you're working with too, you know, because I really love, you can see in my work that there's a lot of movement, or at least I try to bring in a lot of movement. And how I really got into doing that was using transform tools and taking an illustration and shifting it, or maybe you know, warping it in a way so that it creates a different form. So it's creating something totally new using all like the really awesome tools that you have at your disposal.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Bruce has had a question earlier, and he's asking, would this print be one-sided? Because it would be cool if it was a wraparound.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I'm thinking with this, maybe it'll be like 2-sided. I think this is a really good thing to consider when it comes to, I mean, this is a good opportunity for me to go back and look at the template for the bag. So that's a really great question to consider as the piece of walls. Do I want it wrapped around? Is it, you know, repeat? This could be a really cool wraparound. Maybe there's a different scene on the other side. Maybe I get it so that in the center part of on the sides of the bag, the trees from each scene kind of like overlap a little bit. That would be really cool. That'd be some good planning, but that's a really good consideration. Thank you. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah. And I guess considering the product, if there's like you said, if this is the flat side and is if this is one side and is the bag is laying flat, then the edges match up to the edges on the other side. Or it could be one of those bags that have that folding edges sides, then of course that would be a different idea that you could incorporate to your drawing. So it depends on the bag itself, I think.
Yeah,
With the-
totally.
and with the capabilities of the printer.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
definitely. I
mhm.
think that depending on which style we choose on, because I think it'd still be cool to vote on it if y'all
Oh,
want
all right,
this
all
one or
right.
the other one.
Uh-huh.
I think my work will be before day 2. We'll be do some
Mhm.
research on that. So incorporating that or incorporating more technical specs into the piece, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. So what do you say? What do you all say? Do we encourage Stephanie to do a one scene on the side or do the pattern? That would be um I would like to see what you guys vote
Yeah,
on.
maybe I
Mhm.
clean this one up just a little bit more, just to get the idea out there. Maybe I can toggle between two. We can choose.
Mhm. Mhm. There it is. So there it is. I'm adding the question in the chat. Yeah, let me know. Our people are already saying what they like. Enlightened Swami says pattern.
Nice.
Bruce Gonzalez just got his eyes open. Like, okay, let me go see. Becca says, personally, I like the pattern because I think it fits the end product better.
Agree.
Nice. Yes, Wade, please make a poll. That'd be great. And Enlightened says multiplication is also a cool art.
Nice.
Mona says pattern is cool. I think a lot of pattern votes here already.
Okay, okay.
So you guys are paying attention. All right.
I love it. Yes, and I'm going to kind of complete this little blanket that they're laying on really quick. And then I can toggle back to the pattern. So if anybody missed that, I kind of like the pattern too, but I do like this one.
No, yeah, I like this one too. I like this one. It's very calming, relaxed, and depending on the things you got to do every day, we don't in every week, we don't necessarily have that time to just sit around and relax for a moment. And that's what little images like this inspiring you is that calmness.
Yeah.
It lets you feel that calmness by osmosis, but just looking at it,
Yes. Calmness via osmosis.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Kind of like the way people post pictures from Rome or, far away places. They're like, oh, just having a vacation moment.
Nice. Okay. So I'm gonna just organize my layers on the right side here and group these down.
All right, there's the link. Go ahead and choose your favorite option. Would you like to see a finished pattern tote or a full image tote? Go ahead and click through the link. Wade has made the link available here in the chat. I'm making my vote
Awesome.
now. I'm putting
So here's
my
a
vote.
full, and here's the pattern in case anyone missed that.
The pattern votes are winning right now. It's happening.
I like that one as well.
Yeah, you guys want to give Stephanie a lot of work to do. That's all.
That's fun.
Looks nice. Very cool. Yes, the pattern does give it that busy look that makes you want to look at it over and over again to see all the different things. Yes. So I can see why the pattern is getting the votes.
Yeah.
And Mona says they both look so great.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of patterns recently that I have been drawn to that also have like Easter eggs in them, I guess is a good way to say, like hidden little elements or fun little elements that are only visible in certain parts. So maybe that'll be a cool opportunity if we choose this one, which I feel like we will, to add maybe like a fun little something in there as we work through it.
Yes. Well, I think it's the pattern wins the votes. It's got 85% of the vote, while the full image only has 14% of the vote. So there you go.
There we go. Nice. All righty. Well, I'm going to delete this. Well, thank you all for voting. Maybe that will get used for something else in a future
Yeah,
piece.
that's for the second bag.
Yeah, for the second bag. You know, always make another. See, exactly. Right. You can recycle the ideas. All righty. Well, thank you all for voting. So we have the rough idea. I'm going to clean these all up now and just group together the stuff I'm not going to be using. Bring that down here, and I'm going to lock it too, just so I really can't touch it. Cool. Well, thank you all who voted. So now I'm going to jump into the next phase of the sketch, which I think will be like a good way to round things off before adding color. So what I'm going to do is go back to the main composition, which I believe is this one. Get that bigger. And I'm going to take the little pieces now and refine them out a little bit more. This is just kind of how I work. I really like to get the sketch proportionately how I want. I know I'm going to be moving these around a lot to make a final pattern, so I'm not really worried about how they relate to each other right now. So I'm going to like isolate them out, clean them up a little bit, and go from there.
Nice.
And to do that too, I am going to make them all a bit larger because I can always shrink them down and scoot them around to fill. So I'm going to merge these down. I feel like whenever I'm at the end of a project or I'm at the point where I'm like cleaning up layers in a file, I always find tons of, it's a cool progression because you see like your early, really, or for me at least, early messy sketch to a little bit more refined, to a little bit more refined, and then you get what you have. And it's always fun to look, or for me, it's always fun to look back and see that.
Yes, it's you want to have as many layers as possible so you can refine little by little.
Yeah,
you never know. Yeah, and sometimes it's not just the refining the drawing, but sometimes you get other ideas as you work through the drawing. So yes, you want to go ahead and work in layers.
Yeah, like for this one, when I was thinking, or when I was looking at it, I thought it would be cool if we maybe extend like this house shape out a little bit more. Just so that, especially looking at the pattern altogether, I really wanted to fill in some of those negative spaces. So I was thinking of ways to extend out the little vignettes.
Yes. And Bruce, what happens when things get grouped? Is it like a folder? Yes, it's like a folder. And when you export to either Illustrator or Photoshop, you do see in Photoshop, you'll see a folder. In Illustrator, you see layers inside of layers.
Yeah.
And you do want to use groups in Fresco because, I mean, I can imagine over 15 layers in this drawing already.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's been one of the most valuable things I've learned, especially when you start working with clients and stuff too. Or if you're working on a project where you're collaborating with other creatives, definitely want to organize your files, name your layers, make things clean, not only for yourself, but if anyone else has to work on the project too. So it's just always a good habit to get into, especially, once you get over like 10, 15 layers, you're like, oh man, and you're working in little bits of the illustration that you might not see.
Then stay organized. Stay organized. That's a cool fence. You're welcome, Bruce. Try out Fresco. You want to try out Fresco. Get in and use Fresco. I have Fresco on my iPad, on my Surface, and on my PC. I guess depends on the PC that you're using, the computer you're using. You will have the Fresco available to you because it's awesome. Just go
It
ahead and
is.
try it. It's awesome.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's really evolved a lot. I mean, if you look down on the bottom right corner, there's an animation assist, which is a really cool tool, and it's like totally compatible with Photoshop. So if you're familiar with the timeline tool at all in Photoshop, it's super intuitive, and it's just a really awesome tool.
Yep. And right now, like this drawing, you will open Photoshop and you will see this exact file inside of Photoshop waiting for you if you want to open it and continue working on this drawing with Photoshop.
So in the original sketch, I had the tree in front of everything, but I really like the arch of the house. So I'm going to try to like scoot it around a little bit so that I could see a little bit more of the house. And I think the tree is going to be behind to add some, to layer it. Then I'm going to add some cool,
Becca saying, I do wish Fresco had a pattern preview like Photoshop. Yeah, well, Photoshop is Photoshop. There's
maybe one day.
Yeah. I like how light and easy to use Fresco is, especially when you just need to sit down and focus on the creative side, just the drawing.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's super user-friendly. Again, like I'm working on my iPad and I have my Apple Pencil right now, and it's such a great tool.
K.E. Davis, HPPC. I think you would want to check and see if it's available for your PC. It definitely supports some computers. I think it has to do with the graphics card or graphics option of your computer. So go ahead and open the Creative Cloud. Click through the link that's right here on this Behance stream page. There's a little logo for Fresco. Just click through it and see if it's available for your device. Thank you for your questions. And if you're just joining us, illustrator and designer Stephanie DeAngelis is showing us how to take your artwork and add it to products. She has drawn so far different images that will be turned into patterns for a parachute tote bag. So please stay tuned for more. Yes, you're welcome. And tomorrow we'll be back for more illustrations for the products. Join us as she adds the color and creates a final pattern ready for print. And I like to always tell artists that just because you create a drawing for one thing, your drawing is not limited to that thing. Since we have a digital file, you can put it on just about anything that you can print on. So merchandise, t-shirts, mouse pads, whatever, wherever you want to see your artwork, stickers, you can take your artwork just about anywhere you want.
Totally. There's so many different options. I mean, and that's just like products. There's so many digital ways you can work on stuff. I know you do a lot of NFT work. I know there's like digital, if you want to create digital products.
Yes. And you want to find ways to take your artwork into the real world. See your drawing alive. Bring it to life. Let somebody else wear it. Yes.
What was that?
So yeah, you want to see people wearing it,
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So got that first little piece. Go back to my main composition. Oops.
That looks cool. Got the real wire coming down from the power line. And Steve Steinove, no, you're not late. He's asking, so am I late? No, you're not late. You're right on time. We got more time left for this illustration and for today's session. So stick around.
All right, I think I'm gonna, so now what I've done is organize my layers a little bit here. That's the original sketch. The first little vignette. Kind of go back into this group. I deleted out the layer, never mind. So now what I'm going to do is choose the next one to pull out. I think I'm probably going to work on, I really like the dog and the person down there. So I'm going to create a new layer, paste that in. Yeah, another really cool feature of the layers in Fresco is that you can copy and paste throughout, which is such a fun feature. It really helps the workflow.
Yeah, they added just enough tools that you can stay inside your creative zone and just draw. Like we were talking about Photoshop earlier. Photoshop is great, but it also has a ton of menus. You know, so you start feeling like a designer and having to overthink a lot of steps. Whereas Fresco, just draw.
Yeah, I would definitely feel like a lot of people who start to get into digital illustration, they start out on an iPad or get an iPad or use the one they already have. And I would definitely recommend Fresco as a great way into digital illustration. Photoshop, again, great too, but like you mentioned, so many different tools and can definitely be overwhelming. And if you just want to draw and kind of, get your creative juices flowing in that way, then I highly recommend just jumping into Fresco.
And that dog looks so cute. Little chubby doggy. So will you be moving on to vector brushes at the next stage, or are you going to keep it all with a pencil brush?
Yeah, I think the next phase will be color for me. And I think what I'll do is work in vector for sure. That's why I really like to refine things more at this phase, clean things up, really understand the shape I want to do so that I'm not having to worry about making those decisions later. So I feel like it's just setting yourself up for like a cleaner flow. And of course, things change and evolve as you start to add color. But I think at this phase, getting it more to more closer to how I would like it to look just helps when I do decide to bring in color.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, pixel brushes are cool. Really like them. But yeah, I like the smoothness of vectors.
Yeah.
Nikki, thank you for the questions. Nikki says, I've been using Procreate and I want to switch over. They look very similar. Which one do you prefer? What do you think our answer is going to be? Huh? We've been talking about Fresco for an hour and a half, so we're going to continue to talk about Fresco. And but I think with anything, as with anything else, any other tools that artists get a hold of, try it out for yourself and think about the art that you want to create and see and find the app that supports that.
Totally.
That supports that, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I mean, even, as you decide to go down a creative career, if you want to be a digital artist, like there is a pretty big difference between like artists who are more vector based and those who work more in Photoshop. Obviously a lot of similarities, but even just thinking about the style of work you want to create and what the best tool is for that. But I mean, that's the cool thing about Fresco is that you can work in both vector and raster or pixel based. Yep.
And we'll add that we mentioned how a Fresco file, a Fresco drawing can also be opened in Adobe Photoshop. By just opening Photoshop on your computer or even on your iPad, you'll be able to see your Fresco files. And that's another great thing about the Creative Cloud is that the Creative Cloud supports the moving of files between different programs within Adobe. So that's a big plus right there to any workflow, especially for people
Definitely.
like me, yeah, who hop between different programs trying to finish a project. So yeah. And Becca says character carrying a tote bag on a tote bag. Toteception. Very cool. Another question: is it possible to import photos into Fresco to draw
Yeah.
on?
Once I finish moving this around, I can show you where to do that. But if you go down over here, right above your color tool at the bottom of your toolbar over here, you can place photos, files, anything from Creative Cloud and so forth. So yeah, super easy to bring stuff in. I also think you can copy paste stuff directly into there as well. So yeah, super easy to get references, or if you want to manipulate a photo or draw on top of something.
Nice. There you go. There's your answer. It's a big yes. And Oliver says, and again, on the tote bag, in the picture on the tote bag, you can put your pattern on that tote bag that this person is carrying. Oh my gosh.
Maybe. I think you all are onto something.
We need this to be a week-long project in that case. We are down to our last 20 minutes of today's session. So please ask your questions and make sure that you check out the Adobe Live replays are available when you're offline. And we have replays on both YouTube and Behance. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on creative goodness. And if you are on Behance, then check out the rest of the live streamers. There's a ton of streams happening all day through the evening, including myself. Me and a couple other artist friends are always finding time to stream in the evening. So check us out. Stephanie and I will be back tomorrow for more illustrations for products. So make sure you join us tomorrow, same time, right here on Behance. Boom. K.E. Davis says, facts. I even use a crude tool like Paint, but it shocks people how it makes my art work. Thank you. It's now installing. Appreciate that. I'll wait to see if it's graphics card compatible. Well, if you can install it, then it is compatible. If it's not compatible, it will tell you right away that you cannot download it. So have fun with it, KE. Yes. Oh, yes. Look at that. That's exactly how the leashes go. They get all wrapped up.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a fun way to bring in something different. Might change it a little bit, but clean that character up a little.
And it is a process. You got to make sure you take your time through your layers. There's another artist who's been here on Behance. His name is Orlando Arocena, and he always says layers are free, so please use as many layers as you want. Go for it.
And make sure you know what group you're in so you can toggle visibility appropriately.
Yeah, that's right. Bruce is asking, does Stephanie have pets for her references?
I do have a dog. He is not the reference for this one, but I sometimes will use references for my friends' pets.
Yeah, just like we spoke about it earlier, you know, using your friends, family, even yourself as a reference, but also find inspiration online. There's a ton of photos and images, other artists you can follow. And, you know, when it comes to Instagram and even Facebook. On Facebook, I don't have any one connection of a person I went to high school with. They're all artists. I only connect with artists. And
Yeah.
so Instagram the same way. You can control what you see in your feed by making sure you only follow and connect with those who inspire you.
Yeah. And on Behance too, who you follow there as well. And
That's right.
it's always fun. I love going on there and seeing who the people I follow, the projects they appreciate. It's a really good way to discover new artists, see cool work, different projects.
That's right. We are on Behance, so this is it. You have found the right spot. And Bruce says, good old Mexifunk. Correct. Mexifunk. That guy has immense talent. Is amazing. But yeah, follow the artist. There are a few tabs on Behance where you can discover new art. There is an app. You can actually watch this stream on mobile. How many of y'all are watching this on mobile right now? And stay up to date on all the different things that are going on with Adobe and the artists who use Adobe products. There goes the tree.
So I'm kind of warping this tree a little bit because I wanted to open up this particular composition a little more, make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's always a good picnic when you can find a big tree.
Yes, definitely.
For cover. That's right.
So once I make that decision, now I'm going to go up and clean up this sketch.
And I like how you had built this image to have those trees. So it's always cool to see like two different takes on the same idea.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel like some of the ideas of the other tree pattern I might bring in. I really liked how tall some of the trunks were. I kind of like how in this area over here, you can kind of create some interesting wavy lines. Just like really, thinking about how it can be a pattern or how the patterns themselves have interesting shapes and forms.
There you go. Today, the trees are rounded and flat. That's right. And when an artist is quiet, it's because they're working.
Yes, definitely that. But feel free to ask any questions. I am just working on refining the shape of this tree right here. I know that there will be a sun in the composition, or in the pattern rather, so I like to add some spaces where I know, just to remind myself where I'll want to add color. Like for here, for example, I think it'd be cool if there was some light reflected on this area, and then on the tree trunk, I will have some shadows.
Yes. After today's stream, so please stick around for the Illustrator Creative Challenges with Jack Watson, who stopped by earlier here in the chat, followed by Power Prompts with Cody Bear. So stick around on Behance. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, stick around on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on creative goodness. This is how I learned how to use other tools in the app that I'm already comfortable with, is by watching other artists work, ask them questions in the chat, and then apply it to your work later. K.E. Davis has a question. Anyone use Fresco to enhance photos laid into a drawing, layout, or display? So if you want to answer that question, Stephanie, go for it. If I can always add something.
Yeah. Was the question, do I manipulate photos in Fresco at all?
Yes. Do you use Fresco to enhance photos or lay it into a drawing, layout, or display in Fresco?
Yeah, I haven't done that, but I've definitely brought in photo references into Fresco. But I think you could probably do a lot of really cool stuff with that. Yeah, have you brought photos in?
I use photos as for a reference most
Yeah,
of the time. Yeah, that's really what it come down to. Um, but see, not some of the images I bring in are not necessarily photos. They may also be a drawing that I started,
yeah.
and then I want to build out a whole other scene around that drawing. So yes, I use Fresco. I use photos, a lot of photos with Fresco all the time. But I don't edit it. If you're thinking about Photoshop stuff, I don't edit photos in Fresco. Thank you, Prasant. How you doing? Prasant says the host is really cool. Who's the host? Are you talking about me? No, this is a Stephanie stream, okay?
But you are very cool too.
Oh, thank you. Boom, boom, boom. We got another 10 minutes on today's session. Come back tomorrow for the final details.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be working in color. So it'll be a cool way to kind of work through that process. I think I will have the refined sketch by then. And what I'll do is kind of work through a couple quick color comps. How I like to go about applying color is kind of similar in a way to like a sketch phase where do a couple little some rough placement of color, and then decide from there, see what's working. I think there'll be a lot of green probably because it's outside and there's trees, but might work on another palette that has a couple different pops of like maybe a more summery color, maybe they all kind of skew a little bit calming, definitely in the natural realm, but I think maybe some opportunity for some like bright color with the sun or like some spot color.
Yes, a lot of outdoor scenes, so definitely some cool palettes to look forward to. And that's what I'm interested in also, like how do you figure out your colors? I'm always fighting colors, so that'll be cool to see.
Yeah, color is such a really cool tool, but it can also be like super intimidating. It's one of those things where there's like, yeah, color has such an important role in the piece too. Like if the more colors you use, obviously adds more complexity and more opportunity to add details. But like, I feel like I love pieces I see that are use like limited colors or like lots of value within the color to add like lots of emotion or concentrated light source. Yeah, color is fun. I feel like you play with a lot of color in your work too, but I love playing around with it.
Yes, and you know, it'd be cool to see your drawings like these line drawings, and have other people color it.
That'd be really cool. I've always thought about doing like downloadable coloring sheets or like a coloring book or something like that. You know, one of those like millions ideas that you have, but maybe that's a really cool idea, is to like take sketches that might not be used for other things and turn those into coloring sheets.
That's right. There you go. Something to add to your Behance projects is maybe a downloadable line drawing.
I love that idea.
Stein says, I installed the desktop version on my computer. I tried to import a 16-bit image. I got notice that it can only import 8-bit images. I use a laptop PC, Windows 10. I really don't understand the difference between 8-bit and 16-bit. See if you can convert your image with Photoshop. My quick solution is to always take a screenshot and then trim that screenshot and then use that screenshot, because maybe the way you converted that drawing is going to be problematic for Fresco, but I never came across that before, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've run into that problem either, but I agree. I think screenshots are a really great way to work quickly.
Yeah, you can bypass any limitations from any application just by doing a screenshot.
Totally.
Anthony is asking on YouTube, he's asking, Stephanie, do you have any tips for sketching from reference?
Yeah. I think my number one tip, if you're sketching from a reference, like a live drawing or a photo, or I think anytime you're sketching from a reference, I mean, depending on what it is, like if you're outside and maybe you're people watching and you're drawing a scene, I think keeping it fast and loose first, like, with the other option that I was working on with the larger fill, I had a thicker brush and I kind of was just more interested in getting the shapes in. So I think that can be a good way to get your composition down first, because you can always come back and add details and go from there. I think depending on what you're trying to draw, focusing it on the larger form first. And then you can always refine down or like crop into areas that you like more. Just keep it loose. You can always like dial it down or always refine later. But I think starting off by just having kind of more loose approach to it is usually how I like to work, at least.
Right. It's good. That's right. Keep it loose. And that those legs right there is an example of that, where Stephanie draws the leg and the foot and then slowly adds the lines for the shoe, slowly adds the lines for the pants. And so now you have a different line for the ankle and for the pants, but it didn't start off like that. It started off as a straight line. So, that's what we mean when we say loose. It's just draw it out and then slowly build from there.
Yeah. Get the idea down. If you're drawing, pen and paper, or using when I say pen and paper, I mean pencil and paper. When you're doing like pencil and paper, loose, do a couple ideas, work on a couple thumbnails. If you like to work directly into digital, again, like you can lay your quick sketches down first and then use different tools. I've been using the lasso tool over here to select different portions of the sketch and pull them out, move things around, select things and make them larger or skew them a little bit. So I think you can always refine things through as you go.
Yep. Don't overthink it. Just
don't overthink it.
Thank you, Wade, for the answer. Wade coming in with the technical knowledge. Right now, Fresco only supports 8-bit depth images. And I like to think that I'm smart and I know a lot of stuff about computers, but I have no idea what that means. So I'm gonna definitely look it up.
Me too.
It says, okay, Stein says, I think I found my issue. It turns out I tried to import a PSD with more than one layer. Yeah, that's going to be tough. You cannot import PSD like that. And KE is asking, how long does it take to install? It's still at the quarter point. I guess it depends on your internet connection. It should not take that long to install Adobe Fresco. I'm not sure how big of a program it is. But yeah, it's going to depend on your internet speed and what else are you doing with your computer at this time. We're down to a couple of minutes left in today's stream. Please make sure you follow the links to Stephanie's Behance. She's here on Behance, and check out the Instagram. Make sure that you stick around for the Illustrator Creative Challenges with Jack Watson, followed by Power Prompts with Cody Bear. Tomorrow we'll be back for more illustrations for products, and join us as Stephanie will add color and create a panel pattern ready for print. Awesome. Look at that. We put Stephanie to work today.
Yes, it's been really fun working on these. I've now got a couple of the scenes refined out a little bit. Definitely getting them ready to go back and add color tomorrow. So yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you tomorrow here at the same time on Behance or YouTube. Make sure you click the follow button and stay tuned for more here on Behance. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.